Alrighty, welcome to Stars and Stripes episode 2. And in this episode, today we're going to be talking about editing a RAW file. So I already have Photoshop loaded up with the RAW file that I took in episode 1. If you haven't seen that, go check it out and then you'll see the photos. So here's the photos. And this one looks like it already has some edits to it. This one's hasn't really been changed. This is one that I used as the thumbnail last time. Here we go. We got some more of these photos here. So in this episode, I just really want to talk about the possibilities of what you can do with these RAW files. You know, you can experiment around with them, but there's a lot you can do, and shooting in RAW has a lot of benefits over just shooting in JPEG. Now I already have these as JPEGs, which the camera does its own processing, and it, you know, gets rid of a little bit of lens. I can't remember what it's called, but like the warping from the lens. The camera computer processes it and kind of gets rid of that. But in the RAW file, this is all of the raw data from the camera. So let's dive right into it. So this is the first photo that I took, and as you can see up here, we have ISO 1000 and we're at 50 millimeters focal length, f5.6, and this is a 13-second exposure. And over here on the right side, these are all the edits we can do. Today we're just going to look at basic edits. There's a bunch of other things that you can do that I honestly don't even know how to do a lot of these things. I think I've done a few things here. So in basic, let's take a look. You can see over here where all these headlights are, it's really blown out. It's just extremely bright. Over here it's not too bad because it's not pointing directly at the camera. But one of the first things that I would like to do is come over here to the exposure value and drop it down a little bit. You can always drop it more, you can always play with it, you can play with the contrast. So the exposure value is, as you can see, is taking basically anything that's bright and dropping it down. So don't want to go overboard with it. You can always change these settings, and if you don't like what you did, you can always hit Control Z on a Windows computer and it'll go back to whatever you just did. So let's drop this down, maybe minus 0.4. The contrast is a little counterintuitive, but basically what it does is it's going to change how, well, I guess changes the contrast. So it changes the difference between the bright and the dark, and this can change the look of the photo really fast. So I think I'm just going to add a little bit, maybe like 10. And the highlights, this is the one that you're really going to want to focus on if you're going to do these car shots. So for the highlights, if you start bringing these down, you can come and look in here, and then you can actually see the individual lines. So I'm going to go ahead and do that again. So let's go back to 0. Just completely just this blob of light. Now if we start to drop the highlights down, what it's going to do is decrease that intensity, and then you can kind of start to see the individual lines. So let's drop that down maybe minus 50, and then let's zoom back out. Already looking pretty cool. This was just a complete blob earlier. You can see these beautiful streaks here. It's kind of dark, and that's probably because, you know, we turned the highlights a lot pretty far down, as well as the contrast. Okay, so now let's look at the shadows. If you drop the shadows, it's kind of counterintuitive. It actually makes the image darker. So you can actually bump those up, and you can see it's almost the same as increasing the exposure value. And you can see what it's doing to the histogram up here. It's kind of evening things out towards the middle. It literally almost reverses the exposure. So yeah, I'll just play with these, kind of see what I like. I like it a little dark, but I still want definition. And then the whites, kind of the same as the exposure, but only for the color white. So you can see it's really only changing those, which I guess does have an effect on the rest of the photo. But so let's go ahead and drop these guys down a little bit. And then the blacks, we're going to want to bring those out a little bit. Alright, so already you can see this photo looks a lot better. You can actually see more definition in these lines. This is still a little overexposed. Maybe we can drop that down a little bit. Maybe we can leave that there and drop the exposure. Maybe bring up the shadows a little bit. Perhaps bring the contrast down just a tiny bit. Yeah, it's all basically just what you want it to look like. It's really cool because you can get kind of like a Tron look, which is kind of what this reminds me of. You can see on this other photo here, this beautiful starburst right there. And those are caused by, my understanding is, when you have your f-stop a little bit higher, the aperture is closed, and what you're really seeing is the edges of those blades diffracting the light. Really cool. But if your exposure is too high, that'll just turn into a blob. So you can see stars everywhere. Beautiful. And in this one, I actually started to play with the vibrance and the saturation. Saturation is a really cool setting. I'm going to mess with this a little. Basically, it brings out the deep colors. I believe this is the one. Yeah, see? So it gets really, really red if I bring it out. And if I bring the saturation down, we essentially get a black and white picture. So I imagine sepia, the filter, if you've ever used that on a photo, basically drops the saturation all the way down. And vibrance changes the vibrance of the colors. So you can see we get a lot of blue there. And these are the things you can't see with your naked eye, really. So it's kind of, the camera picks up those differences in the colors of light, and the raw file has that data embedded into it. So yeah, really cool settings. So let's jump back over to the other one. And let's start, I'm going to take a peek at the settings here. So negative, positive, yeah, we got a pretty similar profile going on this one. Maybe I'll drop the whites way down. Let's see what we did on this one. Whites actually got positive, wow. Exposure way down, contrast. Let's try that out. Maybe just a little bit. Exposure, drop that down. There we go, it's a little more evened out. But already you can see how cool this picture looks. So, just like the other one, and then texture, if you drop it down, you kind of get a blurry mess. You bring it up, it can kind of add a little bit of a smoothness to the picture. Not a whole lot of a difference. You can see it's kind of blurry, really, really sharp, right in the middle. Actually, let's go back there. I don't mess with that one too much. Clarity, that's actually a really cool setting. It actually does look like it kind of crispens up the image a little. Yeah, especially if you look up at the clouds here. So let's maybe bump that up a little bit. And then dehaze does what it sounds like. Oh wow, look at that. So I'm assuming the camera sees this and it's filtering all this out. Wow, that's a weird one. I'm going to leave that pretty close to 0. Alright, and then vibrance. These are the two settings that I've come to really like. Let's bring the vibrance up. Yeah, look at that. Look at those colors come out. Look at that. All this blue. Even the red. Look at that red over there. So I'm going to go back to 0. You see how the colors are kind of dull? And this is mostly white. Shift Y. Or Control Shift Y. Oh no. I don't know the redo button for the camera raw. Oh man, that's so pretty. So let's give that quite a bit, maybe 70. And then saturation. Let's go ahead and bring that up. Man, it kind of looks like a space world. Ooh, did you see those purples? I don't think they stay. I think that's like a processing artifact. Yeah, let's go there. Really cool. So I'm going to open the default picture just to show you the difference between this and the default. Let's go ahead and throw that over there. Let's go into the alpha 6600. Pix. What's the number on this guy? 791. So let's pull this up. Let's shrink that. Scoot this over a little, and let's pull up the JPEG to the side. You can see a huge difference. I mean, look at this. This image is a lot more crisp. It's darker. This beautiful orange color here. You can see. Can you see that orange? You can. Yeah, I guess you can see it on this one. This beautiful blue color. You don't even see the blue really. I mean, you can see a tinge of blue. Pretty amazing. Let's zoom in a little bit. Yeah, so this is the default JPEG, and if you just always shoot in JPEG, you're only going to get this default profile. But if you shoot in RAW, you get, I mean, look at this. Like, look at that picture. It is so beautiful. Let's see if I can, I don't know if there's a hand thing here. So yeah, that's the first image. Just tons more definition, sexy, sexy colors. And then when you're done editing in Photoshop, what I really like about it is it actually saves your settings for this photo. I don't know where the file is, but it somehow saves all these adjustments, just like I edited this days ago. I'll pull that file. I'll pull this photo up as well. Let's see. What's the number there? 793. Let's throw it over here. Throw that over there. Look at that. Huge difference. The one on the right is just the normal JPEG. Oops. And the one on the left is the RAW file that is being edited. And now, when you're done with the RAW file, you'll save it as another format, usually back to JPEG. But it's always good to leave the RAW file alone. That way you can always come back and do multiple edits of the same photo, which is actually what I did over here. Let's see. Let's see here. Was it this day? I think I did it. Yeah, so check this out. These are the same. This is the same picture. I'm going to go ahead and bring this full screen. This is all the same picture. And I did multiple edits of the same picture and exported them in different ways. Slight variations. I like this Tron look going on. But without taking a raw file, you wouldn't have all this definition. You wouldn't be able to play with it. And then I even took it a step further, and once I exported the color profiles that I liked, I went ahead and got rid of that pole. But you can see some artifacts here. I'm not that good at Photoshop, but you can always go in and get rid of a sign, a pole, a light, anything. So yeah, that's one of the benefits of shooting in RAW. Is you just have tons and tons of definition. You have a lot of editability. If that's even a word, I'm gonna use it. But yeah, look at just this amazing thing here. So if you're ever gonna take a long exposure or a night sky picture especially, you always want to shoot in RAW. You know, I like to shoot in RAW and JPEG so I can see the unedited photo versus the one that I'm messing with, but you could always just shoot in RAW if you data is an issue, and then you can always, you know, edit the file later. So let's see. Let's take a look at one more of these. Is that 794? That's the one that I did after that one. So yeah, I'm just going to go through and do a real quick edit here, not say too much. So let's see, let's drop the exposure down, bring the contrast up, drop the highlights, bring out some shadows, drop the whites, bring out the blacks. Let's give her some more vibrancy. Give it just a tad bit of vibe. Look at that. Oh yeah, so if you drop the vibrancy and bring up the saturation, there's a fine balance, and you can get this cool like black and white look with some bright colors. It's really neat. I was trying to get that look, and I'm pretty sure there's another way to do that, but yeah. Let's bring up the vibrancy, bring down the saturation. Just so cool. So yeah, that's all I really wanted to show. Just a nice quick thing you can do. This is a cool color section. This is, I think this is where you want to be zoomed in when you're editing this photo. Drop the exposure. Let's bring up the whites actually. Let's bring up the contrast. Oh, that looks so cool. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's basically what I wanted to show, is just that I feel like all my photos are starting to look the same. But yeah, you have your creative freedom. And then when you're done, you can go up to here, click on this thing up here, click, let me see what that says. It says convert and save image. Alt and click to save. Okay, so we can click on this, and then it's usually going to go to whatever folder. So I'm going to go ahead and select a folder. Let me double check what day these pictures were taken. Let's see, G. Yeah, these are the 3-9. So I'm gonna go, yeah, you can see my edited photos here. So I'm just gonna edit that into 3.9 pics raw. Okay. So it's gonna be into, let's select a folder, 3.9 pics raw edited. And then this is gonna be Stars and Stripes 2. Oh, I forgot, you just have to click the folder and then you name it. Here we go. Stars and Stripes 2. And you can change a bunch of other things like the quality. This will change the output file size. You can get rid of the metadata, which is, you know, the camera information and GPS on like cell phone cameras and stuff. You can also export in different formats. So we have this lowercase JPEG, higher uppercase JPEG. TIFFs are really cool. So JPEGs are lossless, or lossy rather, formats, and what that means is every time you save the file, you lose just a little bit of data. But a TIFF, and I think, let's see, TIFF, and maybe a PostScript. I know TIFF for sure is a lossless one. They're higher resolution images. Anytime I ever downloaded a picture from NASA's website, I always got the TIFF, and they're a lot bigger files, but they don't lose definition. So it's kind of the same thing. If you wanted to edit a TIFF, you would save the TIFF and then mess with the JPEG later, and then you'd always have the best file for editing. So yeah, that's basically it. I'm gonna go ahead and save this picture here, and then once you save it, then you can go over here and re-edit it and resave the picture. Yeah, for example, if I want to drop this down, let's see, black and white, there we go. If I want to save that as a black and white, Stars and Stripes 2, and then I just put BW for black white, save, and then you can always Control Z and get back to where you were and take it a step further, maybe drop this even. Oh, I love those colors. That's so cool. Let's go ahead and save that one too. This is going to be Vibrant. Boom. So it's kind of nice. You can get in a little flow of, I'm starting to learn how to get a flow of saving the same photo multiple times, and then you can always go into the folder later and you know, kind of see what you created. Look at that. Let's take a peek at all these. That was the thumbnail for the other photo. This is the black and white edit. Here is the Vibrant, the last one that I just saved. That's beautiful. Look at that. That's kind of cool actually, with that explosion of light. Oh, these are such pretty pictures. I like these weird colors, but some people may not, so you can just not do the crazy vibrancy settings and whatnot. And I'm pretty sure you could go in here and drop the exposure, drop the whites, and clean up that a little bit. But when you think about it, in a 30-second exposure, 13 seconds, you know, a lot of cars can go by at 60 miles an hour. And then there's JPEG. Yeah. Stars and Stripes 2 Vibrant. Yeah, so here's the 3 photos that we came up with. Black and white, Vibrant, and just the initial edit. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that episode. There we go. Like and subscribe for more. The next episode is actually going to be a lot of fun. I'll give you a sneak peek here. I believe this was, it's not going to be in here, it's going to be in here. We are going to take a look at, let's go back to last year, 7/16. Yeah, so this is the next episode. I'm going to show you the pictures that I took of comet Neowise, and then the episode after that I'm going to go take some pictures of some stars. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, comment, buy my merch, all that stuff. Have a good one. Thanks for watching.